I've titled this message, Our Response Matters. Our response as Bible-believing, Spirit-filled Christians, our response matters. Our response matters when how early we turn up for Sunday church. No, I just thought I'd just throw a little jab in there. I was here before you were. It's cool, like, because I can preach and then go. And then hope I get invited back. But if I don't, it's all good. Our response to things matters. Our response to a praise song, even though somebody hit a bung note. I'm just throwing a few things out there. Our response to COVID, lockdown, mandates. That's the only time you're going to hear me talk about that stuff. It's done, gone, it's there. Our response to heartache, loss, our response to pain, affliction, our response to people disagreeing with you, our response to lack, not having enough, our response to all those things matters. But what I've also learned is our response to vision is just as important. Because what we find in our humanity is that we respond to lack, hurt, and pain with a whole lot more urgency than sometimes when we respond to a prophetic word and vision. I think it deserves equal value. But in our humanity, we feel like I just need to deal with now. And let me tell you this, I was sharing it with our intercessors group back at home just the other day. I said to them, I know the need is great, but the vision is greater. Let me explain that just for a moment. Because when we see need, we feel like we just have to. It becomes an urgent and important. Now, don't get me wrong, meeting needs is really important. But we look at it and we can get so immersed in just trying to meet the need that the need creates an atmosphere and environment around us that is limiting what we should be seeing at the same time. I want to still see with vision and meet the need at the same time. In other words, bring your head up and see what the Lord is doing. In other words, take yourself out of the tent like Abraham. God took Abraham out and he said, you're confined by what you have in front of you. He was believing for a promise, but all he could see was only his servant in the tent with them. When God says, I need to take you out of your tent so that I can show you how many stars that you are going to have, how much of your descendants are going to be. I need to show you a visual of what the future holds, but I need to take you out of your need right now. The need is great, but the vision is greater. And I'm here to help you understand, how do you respond? You're really good at responding to need, to hurt, to affliction and pain. And maybe you're probably thinking, it's like, man, I'm not. And what I love about the church is this, there's a place where part of the church's function is a hospital. Part of the church's function is becoming a family, part of the family. But the end result of a church in regards to your discipleship life is that you should always be entering in and becoming part of the army. Where you come in and you get healed, whole, and delivered. You come part of the family, start serving to some degree and getting amongst and building relationship and connection. But at some point in your Christian life, you need to sign up to the army. That's what makes us mature. That's why you should get to conference. In fact, let me tell you this. I messaged Zara. She probably didn't get it because she's been an awesome girl and an awesome woman of God and doing her jobs. But I messaged her and I just said, how many youth are coming to conference or would like to come? Now, I've been getting myself into trouble. I've been traveling around INC and I said to my wife, just don't worry about it. I'll pay for all the youth. I will pay. Me and my wife will pay for any youth that can't get to conference. You're paid for. Because I remember going to conferences. I remember as a young person going to camps. I'll pay for your registrations. Zara can look at paying for everything else, okay? But I'll pay for your registrations. So if that's you, a young person in here that would like to come, that couldn't come, go give your name to Zara. I didn't ask for permission for this, but it's all right because it's helping the vision of Citipointe anyway. And would love to do that. Maybe you're here and you're thinking, I want to get in that environment. I believe wholeheartedly that conference isn't the answer, but it's part of it. And you think I'm a good preacher. Wait till you get into conference and just allow the word of God, the prophetic unction, allow the ministry of God to come. I reckon you should all get there. And if I can help your young people, your next generation get there, maybe there's somebody here, there's a family. I'd love to pay for one family. Again, God's been really blessing mine and my wife's life financially. I launched a business I've had on my heart for 4 years, which has been it's been a blessing, and it's continued being a blessing, where I make like $150 to $180 an hour. Like, it's just flipping awesome. I got another side hustle that gets me that does that. I'm paid pastor too, full time, and I'm proud of that too, because we work flipping hard. And we do a lot of work. I also serve voluntarily in a number of trusts as well, including my INC pastor's role as a volunteer, INC chairman's role as a volunteer role as well. But God's been really blessing us, and I just know every time God bless us, I want to just sow seeds. We haven't had debt for many, many, many years, and it's just been a beautiful season of our lives. And it's always been a dream of mine that we could just continue to bless people and continue to do that. So hand on heart, we want to just help every young person get there. So go see Zara after this if you've got a young person that'd like to come. But I'd love to help a family get there too. And so please come up to me afterwards if that's you. And I want to partner with this church, not just in preaching. Because you're going to do a love offering after this. I saw it in your run sheet. And to be honest, that love offering would just go back to helping you get there. So make sure you give to the love offering. Because at least you know now, their love offering, I'll take it and receive it. But it's just coming back to be able to get. And I'll give an opportunity for people to have seeds sown into their life. I don't do this to boast. I just do it because, one, we don't need the money. But I do believe in the vision of INC. Personally. This isn't coming out of the INC budget. This is coming out of my church's budget. This is coming out of two people who have been serving in INC for the last 30 years that saw the ebbs and flows and still believe it, not just in word, but in action too. And so I want you to respond to that today. So maybe after this preach, you can give a love offering knowing that seeds are going into eternity. Somebody's eternity. Somebody's fruitfulness. Yeah, I want to stop there because it just tears me up at just seeing what God's been doing in the last 30 years and what he wants to continue to do, especially in this church. Our response matters, amen? I said amen. I got lost for a moment. Let's just jump straight into it. Genesis chapter 28, our response to vision is really, really important, and we see in this piece of passage of just how you respond, how Jacob responds to big dreams, how he responds to big, and I've got 6 things that I want to share with you of how we should respond to what God shows you. Genesis chapter 28, verse 11 in the NIV version says this: when he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and laid down to sleep. Let me just stop there. It's not part of my notes. But one thing that I believe, to hear from God, you have to position yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe conference every Sunday or most Sundays. We all need a break and holiday, right? In our daily life, positioning ourselves before the Lord so that we could hear from him. Positioning yourself is an important part of just hearing and getting a vision and a dream for God. And what I believe is that there is an attachment. There's no dream from God or vision from God that will be detached from reaching people. There's no dream from heaven that is void of reaching people. If you're saying to me, oh man, the Lord's speaking to me to go and build a soul trading business where it's just me in an office and a computer and and all I'm doing is filling in data, and that's my life, and then I go back into my house and eat, sleep, and then repeat that 7 days. Doesn't really sound appealing anyway. Maybe for some. Maybe lockdown kind of happened too and got people stuck within the four walls. I'm here to tell you that there's no vision from God that is absent of reaching his people. There's a proverb in Māoridom that says, "Yaha te mea nui o te ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata." What is the most important thing in this world? It is people. It is people. It is people. Verse 12, he had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Verse 13, there above it stood the Lord, and he said, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying." Verse 14, your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. Verse 15, I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave until I have done what I have promised you. Oh, I love that bit. I will not leave. I will not stop until I have done what I have promised you. Verse 16, when Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. Am I missing a slide? No, I'm not. Verse 17, he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gates of heaven. Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called the place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, will give me food to eat and clothes to wear. Verse 21, so that I return safely to my father's household. Then the Lord will be my God. You know, when I interpret verse 21, that's me saying, I'm going to continue to do this until I die and then go to be with my Father. That's the mission. That's what it's like living, signed up to the army of God. I'm going to keep going and keep moving and what God's called me to do. Some of you know the story about my son Ezekiel. He's on the spectrum. God gave us a word for him before we even knew he was coming into existence. Our daughter's the oldest, so she came before Ezekiel. But before we had Psalms, God said to us, you're going to have a son, you're to name him Ezekiel. He's going to be a mouthpiece for me, a prophet to the nations. And then when he turned, then we had Psalms, and we knew we were going to have Ezekiel. He came 15 months later. When he turned 2, we realized there was speech delays there, so we went to go get him tested, went to go find out what the problem is and challenges. We find out at 2 years old that he's on the spectrum, that he's non-verbal. He's had a whole lot of challenges. He's now 9 years old. He's now 9 years old. He's about 70-something kgs. He's a unit. He's a unit, and he still hasn't spoken. He still doesn't speak. But I've been living on a promise, my wife and I, about what God said to us. And I'll go to my deathbed, even if I don't see it with my natural eyes, still believing that God will still fulfill his promise. And our son, it comes with a lot of challenges. When you're pastoring a church, leading a movement, dealing with the things of the church, running business, working, doing family, marriage, all that kind of things, it comes with a lot of challenges when you got a son like that, but we've never used them as an excuse. We've only believed that what God said, he's using him to reach people. Everywhere I go, my son usually jumps into my preachers. And I go home and I hug him and I kiss him and I said, you prophesied today, Ezekiel. You prophesied today into people you haven't even met. God is using you to do that. And so when you jump into the army of God, you walk with vision, you walk with passion. Your children aren't a reason why you shouldn't fulfill the call of God on your life. In fact, they become part of the whole process. They become part of what God wants to do in and through people's lives. Then you'll return to heaven. You got plenty of time for eternity to relax. Why not take this very moment of your life right now? It's little. Book of James says it's just a mist. They just, your life. And we've been spending too much of it worrying about just what they need when God's got a big vision for you. And He wants you to join the army of God, to go from hospital, family, army, and put on the armor of God and fight the good fight, to lead people to Jesus, to reach your world for good and for God. He's calling you. I feel like I'm just like preaching to some. Anyway. Verse 22. I love you, by the way. I love all of you, okay? Just because I look really intense. I'm not as intense. I'm only intense. There's two places I'm intense. On the rugby field and on the preaching platform. Outside of that, I love you. Well, sorry, I always love you. I'm just nice, off there. Genesis 28. Just digging the hole, bro. 22. And this stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth. Let me talk to you about 6 responses, just really quickly. When God gives Jacob a dream, when God gives you a dream, when He gives you a vision, regardless of what's going on, circumstances, what's happening here in the natural eye, God gives you something. This is how a believer should respond to something that looks too big for them to handle. Your pastor, I've said this heaps of time. His preach, the day I killed Mara, is the number one message of my life. Because it changed me. And this is part of it. Because I couldn't believe, one of the lies that I believed about myself is that God gave me a big dream. God gave me these things and showed me these things. But I believed God could do it. I didn't believe that He could use me to do it. And we had to go on a missions trip in Tonga, not this one just gone, the one before, a few years back. And God used your pastor's message to transform my life. And ever since then, I've always believed that not only God wants to do a good thing, but He also wants to do a big thing in and through me. And that's where I know when I'm preaching this, I'm preaching to that world and that mindset that says, oh, God couldn't use me. I'm preaching to that world and mindset that says, you don't know my life. I'm preaching to that mindset that says, yeah, but I'm not good enough. I'm preaching to that mindset, but I'm also preaching to give you a vision so that you just don't get stuck with the need, but you get inspired by vision. So let me give you 5 responses. The first response is this: wake up. Wake up. Look around. You're worrying about everything in front of you. Look around at what God can do. Look around at what, just wake up. Wake up from your sleep. Wake up from your spiritual apathy. Wake up from just thinking about your own problems, that there are more problems out there and God can help you deal with your problems so that He can do a work in you and through you. Wake up. There's something awesome out there. Don't be fooled that this is just your world right here. God's got something bigger, something greater. God's got influence that far exceeds even where you can see. You know what I loved is at 12 years old, some of you heard this, that God said to me on 46B Rotakawa Street in Taupo. He said to me, it was just me and my mum in the room, and He said to me, I'll make you a father of many nations and a brother to many others. That's what He said to me. I said to my mum, what does this all mean? I go, I don't want to be no daddy. I was 12 years old. And she said, that's not what it means, son. It means that God's got leadership on your life. And then she proceeded to tell me about a dream of when I was conceived. When I was conceived, she didn't know she was pregnant with me. She was with my father at that time. My sister had already been born. But God gave her a dream and started to show her that she was pregnant. And this is what your son was going to do. She told me, at 12 years old, she said she woke up halfway through, somewhere in the dream, because it seemed way too impossible. It was just too far out there. So she said she woke, and then she was just talking with the Holy Spirit, and she realized I have a baby, and that was God's plan for this baby. And so she said to God, will you show me the rest of the dream? And she said she heard clearly say no, because you didn't believe. And then she rolled over to my dad. This is her telling me. She rolled over to my dad. I'm not sure if my dad had given his heart to Jesus. He doesn't walk with the Lord anymore. He hasn't for many, many years. But she rolled over to my dad and said, hey, Sid, I believe that I've got a baby that I've conceived, and it's going to be a son. And she started to tell my dad the dream that she had. Apparently, this is what my mum said, that my dad's face started to just change and get distorted. Because in his heart, he said, how could this child that you think we have can be better than his daughter, their daughter? That's not what she said. There was issues in my dad's heart and in her life. But what I love about when she told me that, she said, son, it's good. And so God gave her a vision and a dream about what I was about to do, what God was going to do. And at 12 years old, God came and encountered me for myself. And since the age of 12, I've always believed that I was going to be a father of many nations and a brother to many others. It was about leadership, pastoring, a whole bunch of cool stuff, awesome stuff. And in the age of 19, God reinforced it because I got into trouble in between those years. He reinforced it and he reminded me again. But he also said, you're going to plant churches from the east to the west, from the north to the south of Aotearoa, New Zealand and beyond. And I got to tell you, it hasn't been an easy life. It's come up with so much ebbs and flows, pains and good times and awesome things. But as long as I can always believe, that's what God said to me at 12 years old. That's what God said to me at 19 years old. I'm going to continue to believe for the best is still yet to come. And I believe you can too as well. But you've got to wake up. You've got to wake up. It says in Genesis 28:16, then when Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. Let me just give you a thought. It stays a dream if you're not awake. It stays a dream if you're not awake. If you're still sleeping, it's going to stay a dream. You can still sleepwalk, and that's why it's staying a dream. You've got to wake up from the dream and start pursuing the dream and turning it into a reality. Wake up from spiritual apathy. Wake up and just from the things that if you feel like you've been inundated with the lies of the devil that are stopping you from believing what God's called you, just like he was doing to me until I met Bishop Ben Cherry. So I have a question for you to ask between you and the Lord. What do I need to wake up from? I don't know what your wake up needs to be. I don't know what you're sleeping on God for. Some of us have been sleeping on Jesus and he's interceding. Some of us have been sleeping on a dream and not activating it. My question is, what do you need to wake up from? The second response we see from Jacob, the second response that believers should have when they get given a God-sized vision and dream, is to build an awareness. Verse 16, when Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. Let me give you this thought. It stays powerless if you're not aware. It stays a dream when you're not awake, so wake up. Response number one. Response number two is be aware, build an awareness. It stays powerless if there's not an awareness of the presence of God walking with you. Moses said, I will not go unless your presence comes with me. How would people know that I carry a dream from God? How would people know that I've got this thing and a calling from God? I won't leave until your presence comes with me. And building an awareness of the presence of God means that whether you feel him or not, you know he's there with you. So you're not going to be led by your emotions, which is fleeting. You're not going to be a motivated Christian because motivation is fleeting. You're going to be a committed, disciplined Christian because those two things aren't fleeting. Motivation is fleeting. Emotions are fleeting. I'm not a motivated pastor. I'm not even a motivated speaker. Even though I know I'm giving you a little bit of a motivation. I'm not a motivated speaker. I'm an anointed one. I'm one that's been spending time with the presence of God, so wherever I go and speak, it's not powerless, it's powerful. So here's a question for you. Am I aware of God's presence in my everyday life? Am I aware of God's presence? Do I believe and know that He was with me? That He would never leave me nor forsake me? It's a good question for you to ask. The third response to a God-sized dream is daily affirm the vision. Daily affirm the vision. Look what Jacob does in verse 17. But he was also afraid. And he said, what an awesome place. Now that word afraid is more like a reverence. It's more like that. It's more like that. Like you get it's like, oh man, this is exciting, but scary at the same time. Ever had that feeling before? It's exciting, but it's scary at the same time. And you're going to jump off anyway. Because it's exciting, but it's scary at the same time. This is what's happening, is that he's just like, God just blew his mind. That's what you have for me? That's what you want to do in and through me? That is amazing. And so his response is that I'm going to affirm that this is an awesome place. This is an awesome dream. This, I think we use in Pentecostal Charismatic Church, we use awesome too much, too loosely. When I read this is awesome. When I read that God's going to make me a father of many nations and a brother to many others, that is awesome. When I hear that God says He's going to use me to plant churches from the east to the west to the north to south and beyond, I get that is awesome. That's an awesome thing. And daily affirming the vision. That's why I know those two things off by heart. That's why it's never changed. It's never shifted. It's never evolved. It's the same because I'm just daily affirming, or at least weekly now, because I just know that's who I am and what God has said to me. What is the vision that God has placed on your heart that you've been too scared, or you've hit a few walls in life that now you've just stopped saying what you need to be saying? People think I'm dumb. People think I'm crazy. Well, then be crazy. Just be crazy for a moment. Keep affirming what people are trying. They're only seeing what's in front of them. They're only seeing with their natural eye. Learn what it is to be able to see with visions of faith. Remember, faith is the substance of things hoped for. It is the evidence. Somebody say evidence. It is the evidence of things unseen. That's right. So when you affirm the vision that can't be seen by anybody else, you're taking what God put inside of you here, and you're pitching it out there enough so that when people see the vision, they have read the vision, they run with it. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. It's not a sales pitch. It's a vision worth running for. So here's a question. What affirmations can you build around your vision? What affirmations can you build around your vision? What affirmations can you build around your vision? Response number 4, create a reminder. Response number 4, create a reminder. Verse 18, early the next morning, Jacob took the stone that he had placed under his head and set up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. Oil represents anointing. Oil represents God's presence. That he built a reminder. And he sealed it with the Holy Spirit. Oh, come on, somebody. Just allow that, just agree. Well, your response to this word, by the way, I don't need your affirmation. I don't need it. You need a response. I don't need an affirmation. I look in the mirror and I'm just like, my wife loves me. I got kids to prove it. And 17 years of marriage. I'm good. I don't need your affirmation. Let me teach you something, right? Affirmation comes this way. Confirmation comes this way. When you say, preacher, pastor, that was good, you're only confirming what I already knew. We call it arrogance in this world. I call it Godfidence. Oh, man. It's so good. So, built a reminder. What are you building? Let me ask you a question. What can you create that's a reminder of your purpose? My son is a reminder every time I wake up. Every time he tries to say 1, 2, 3, a reminder of God's goodness. A reminder of why we're doing what we're doing. When I get in the morning, I hear somebody gave their hearts to Jesus today. When I hear 80, 100 decisions, or over 100 plus decisions over in Tonga made, I'm reminded of why we do what we do. Create a reminder that's a reminder of your purpose. It could be a vision board, a dream board. Create a reminder, just like Jacob, his response is, I'm going to create something that's going to remind me and the next generations, because it stayed there for generations after. And I'm going to seal that with the Holy Spirit and pour oil all over that as a reminder that this is what God said. Because I tell you what, the devil's going to try to lie to you every single day, that you are not good enough, that you are not worthy, that you can't complete this, that it was a bunch of lies. That guy that prophesied over you, he don't even know what he's talking about. He'll do whatever he can to remind you that you cannot do it. But I want you to do something to remind yourself every single day that this is what I'm called to. Response number 5. Make a covenant. Not a commitment. Not a keen. You know those ones? Yeah, I'm keen. Yeah, I'm keen. About a couple of months ago, I texted our men's ministry. Guys, all the guys in there, and I said, hey, I'm going to be turning up on Mondays. Just feel it on my heart to just kind of do some corporate prayer specifically. So I'm going to be Monday mornings at 6 a.m. at godly times, right? Godly times. 6 a.m. You know, I train at 4 a.m., okay? Those are godly times. And then I was like, at 6 a.m., I was like, let's gather together and let's pray. And then the response is like, I'm keen. And then I said, I don't want no keen. I want committed. I want people who are going to come into some kind of covenant that when we turn up and we pray, we're literally not there for ourselves. We're there for other people. And only a few turned up, which I'm all good with. Because I'd rather have a God only needs one person that could say yes to a covenant. Covenant is a lot more than just a keen. Covenant is a lot more than just being somewhat committed, even though that's important. Covenant means regardless of how this goes, I am going to continue because that's how your marriage thrives. Is that no matter how hard this is, I'm going to stay in that godly covenant that we said yes to. And you can make a covenant with God for that dream and vision and never, ever give up on it. Amen? Verse 19, he called the place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Verse 20, then Jacob made a vow. He made a covenant saying, if God will be with me. So here's a question. What do you need to tell God about the vision that he told you? Woo! Think about it. Maybe you've already said, nah, that can't be right. Maybe you already said, God, you got it wrong. Maybe you kind of said what Moses said. I can't do that. And so God took the fullness of that calling and gave part of it to Aaron. Do you want part or do you want the whole thing? I reckon there's enough grace, that God's got enough grace that you can go back to him and say, give it to me, Lord. I want it all. What kind of response do you need to give God about the calling that he's already spoken over your life? Maybe you need to revisit and say, Lord God, I got it wrong. I know you can use me. I'm making a covenant with you. Where you say I go, I go. What do you need to tell God? The last one. The last response of a believer to a God-sized dream and vision is sow and invest. If you're thinking this was a sneaky way for you to give more money for the love offering afterwards, feel free. But it's not. You know, when I was telling you that we're willing to pay for people's registrations, that's what I mean. It's sow and invest. It's sow and invest. I wonder if the people of this church could believe in your young people more than what I can believe in them. And take it further than just lip service, but actually sow and invest. You, don't wait for the church's budget to come out and find out whether they can make room in there to sow and invest. You sow and invest. Young person, you might have heard, oh, but you said you'll pay for it. You were like, no, I'm going to sow and invest in my own life. That's right. Yes, you can. Verse 22, and this memorial pillar I have set up will become a place for worshiping God, and I will present to God a tenth of everything he gives me. Jacob's response to a God-sized dream was to wake up. Jacob's response to a God-sized dream was to build an awareness of God's presence, so that everything that he did was not powerless but powerful. Jacob's response to a God-sized dream was to make sure he had daily affirmation, declaring that this is what the Lord says. Jacob's response to a God-sized dream is to create a reminder, because the devil's got schemes to remind me of my failures, but I want to create a reminder of who he is and that I am an overcomer. Jacob's response to a God-sized dream is, I'm going to make a covenant with you and I won't break that covenant. Jacob's response is, I'm going to sow into this. I'm going to invest into this. I'm going to put time into this. I'm going to put some money into this. I'm going to build my budget around. I'm going to make a new account. A new account in your bank that says stadium. Why? Because maybe there's a dream that God's calling you to fill stadiums. Like Billy Graham. God-sized dreams. Maybe for someone it was like, I got to build an account that says church plant. You don't know where you're going. You don't know when it's going to happen. But you're just going to keep putting dollars in there as an act of faith of where God has showed you. Maybe you should put an account of some sort that is attached to that. That's money. Maybe you should book some time in your calendar that actually is starting to take some steps towards you actually fulfilling that. Rather than talking about what the church should do, you should be part of the answer and say, I can do. And this is what I can do. What are you going to sow? What are you going to invest? Our response to God matters. So here's the question for you. What can I give right now? What's the sow and invest you can give right now? If I can ask you.